Today we have with us Constantinos Bogdanos, journalist, author and former member of parliament. Throughout his career, he has been known for speaking his mind with courage, staying true to his principles, and dedicating himself to the issues he believes matters most to Greece. From his work in journalism to his time in parliament, he has championed bold ideas and taken stands that have sparked public debate, earning both respect and attention. Welcome, Constantinos Bogdanos. A pleasure to have you here.
Extremely good to be with you. Thank you so much for the invitation. Very grateful that through you I can address the Norwegian public and the broader European public as well.
Wonderful. Mr. Bogdanos, you had a career spanning journalism, writing, politics. How did your early experiences shape your approach to public life?
Well, to begin with, you're too kind with all of those lovely things that you have said. I do understand that I'm a love-to-hate figure as well in the Greek public sphere, but it all comes down to who you are, your family, the tradition in which one has been raised with loads of love, in my case. Family history also carries considerable weight. I mean, I am the grandson of a Greek maestro and a Greek general who started fighting back in 1940, the Italians, then the Germans in Egypt, then the Germans in Italy, then the communists in Greece from 44 to 49, and then the communists in Korea in 52. So together with my education and my Orthodox upbringing, which I adore as both a spiritual and a cultural background, have pretty much shaped what I am. Now, together with the fact that since my early steps as a professional, I have been into journalism, this has exposed me to the public sphere, and throughout my course so far, I have only wanted to be true to what I believe, and an identity that I believe that is shared by pretty much most Greeks, even though this identity is being betrayed nowadays from both the Greek government and the European establishment.
You married in 2019.
Indeed.
And you recently became a father.
3 years ago.
How has family life influenced your perspective on your work and your vision in Greek?
Listen, family people nowadays in the Western world are contemporary partisans. We are the ones who uptake the resistance to a culture which wishes to uproot everything that has been a standard for our common wellness throughout millennia. You see a world which attempts to demolish and destroy things like the existence of good and evil, right and wrong, male and female, genders, sexes, God when it comes to the Christian God, because when it comes to a Muslim God, they're on their knees, our elites, facilitating a Muslim invasion of our countries. So family is in the center of this all, but not only in an ideological manner. Family is in the center of it all in terms of everyday life and the nuclear elements of one's existence. I have never been happier than the time that I have been with my wife. And my daughter is the most precious gift that God has ever given to me. I would like to be a father to more children. And again, it sometimes feels that we live in a time where things that should be normal, that should go without saying, are now becoming something which is special. Well, it shouldn't. But again, we live in a world, especially in the West, and especially in Europe nowadays, which is lagging behind the United States. There has been an awakening in the United States. There has been a reckoning in the United States about what really matters and what we should really strive to fight for, save, and help grow even further. In Europe, what you have is a war waged against normal people. People who want to have a job, a wife, and a family. People who want to have a job, a husband, and a family. People who want to work hard, be able to make ends meet without any excesses for their families, be dignified, and maybe on Sunday go to church or, just go for a walk, a stroll, spend some time with their beloved ones. This used to be the case. I'm sure it used to be the case in Norway, but this used to be the case in Greece in times where we were supposed to be not as progressed as we are nowadays. And people say that we used to be poorer. Well, I believe that Europe has never been more poor in real terms than it proves to be nowadays. It has lost its marbles. It is losing a sense of direction as well. It is engaging in useless wars. And instead of protecting what has made Europe be possibly the most important continent and culture in human history, is now being neglected, if not attacked and destroyed.
Your personal life often appears in the public eye. How do you balance privacy with being a public figure?
Well, to begin with, protect your privacy. I have stopped being that active on social media exactly because of what you say. I'm so happy with my personal life that I do not need to expose it. But then again, in a nutshell, I will borrow from Gordon Ramsay, the famous UK chef, who says, whoever cannot take the heat, just get out of the kitchen.
How would you describe your core political philosophy today, and has it evolved over time in your life?
I'm a conservative, full stop. I used to be a liberal, but I used to be a liberal back in like 15 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. From the time that I entered to the time that I exited the political sphere, I mean the hardcore political sphere, I said it all along, I am a conservative. But, you know, what a conservative today is not too far, is actually quite close to what a liberal would be 15 years ago. For instance, you would note that Hillary Clinton, 15 years ago, would say that we don't need illegal immigrants. You would have Barack Obama say that, well, the sexes and genders are only two, like 10 or 15 years ago. Liberals, back in the day, would attest to the fact that, you know, our core cultural and societal values need to be protected. Something happened along the way, which I cannot really follow, but I suspect that it has something to do with huge amounts of money and global elites who have found new industries to pursue, which which has actually attempted to uproot all this. Well, so along the way, and at least for the last 10 years, I have realized that the contemporary ideology for people who make sense is conservatism. So I'm a conservative.
Yes, many people see you as a nationalist.
I am one.
How do you define nationalism, and what role should it play in Greek politics, you think?
Well, I am a nationalist, but not in the political sense. You see, I'm not really sure, which actually means that I'm quite sure about the opposite, that nationalism is not a political ideology. Nationalism is a way of life. Above and beyond everything, I am Greek, which actually entails that I'm a European. But this is not by itself an ideological statement or position. In order for something to be an ideology, it also needs to cater for fields like the economy, for instance. For example, conservatives are free market people. We believe in economic liberty. We don't believe in a state which dictates what you should be able and not allowed to do. Nationalists who say that they are politically nationalists, id est nationalists in a political sense, sometimes are statists, sometimes often flirt with socialist ideas. And then, of course, there are those nationalists who are in favor of free market economy. And you could have nationalists even on the communist side. For instance, what was the name? Ho Chi Minh, the Vietnamese arch-communist nemesis of the United States. He was a nationalist, first and foremost. He went to the French saying, I want an independent nation. They said, get lost. He went to the Americans and said, help me out, I want an independent nation. They said, well, we're not really interested. So he went to the Soviets and said, I want an independent nation. He said, we're going to help you. Okay, then I'll become a communist. So to be a nationalist nowadays is not a political identity. It is more of a way of life. It is more of an outlook to everything which is happening. So yes, if people identify me as a nationalist, then this is because I revere what it means for somebody to be in love with his nation and his or her spiritual, cultural tradition. In those terms, I'm a nationalist. But, you know, there is this term which I have been trying to introduce to Greece, not necessarily with huge success, but it is very, very relevant in Europe nowadays. It is national conservative. I have been a speaker in the NatCom conference, together with heads of state and very influential people in the national conservative universe, both in the United States and in Europe. And the name is National Conservative. I write for Brussels Signal. It's one of the things that I love doing. And I think it's one of the most substantial things that I do. And I also create content for Brussels Signal. I use the term National Conservative. So I believe that this could be a term that we can agree to. And this could be a term that expresses all the forces that nowadays aim at saving our soul and even actual existence. If we go on like this, there will be no Europe in like 30 or 40 or 50 years. Some nations and some countries are going to be nothing but a reminder of what they used to be. Sweden is lost.
Why do you think that national identity is so threatened now? Why is that a negative word to say that you are a nationalist today?
You want the short answer or the long answer?
Maybe the short.
After the Second World War, a team of professors and academics moved, or even a little before the Second World War, I'm talking about the Frankfurt School, Walter Benjamin, Horkheimer, Adorno, you name it. I have studied philosophy at King's College London, by the way, and communication at Pantheon University, and communication theory is actually the postmodern philosophical theory which has been the groundwork for all this uprooting that we experience nowadays. So you had a handful of academics who moved from Central Europe to the United States, created the School of Frankfurt, MIT, Berkeley University, and the lot, actually saying that, well, if humanity ended up doing something like the Holocaust, most of them were of Jewish origin, well, then the Western world should not exist anymore as it is. So let's start destroying. And the first thing that those progressives, because these are like the grandfathers of today's progressives, started expanding their ideology. Then it was transferred back to the continent through the French postmodern, post-structural theory, Foucault, Lacan, Derrida, Deleuze, Althusser, you name them. They're like all those superstar theorists, I won't even call them philosophers, who are adored in the US. Like Yale was in love with Deleuze. They called him Deleuze, but forget about the accent. Then, of course, the infection moved also to the UK. Universities like Birmingham, for instance, but then Oxford, Cambridge, they were all infected by this whole thing, which, coupled with economic elites around the world who realized that the West has stopped producing, so in a sense we shall need to look into an alternative economic model, one in which citizens are not workers and producers anymore. Well, this all ended up in a political elite during the last 20 or 30 years in the West, which primarily needs to attack the idea that Western peoples have different characteristics, one from another. In order for me and you to be obedient and to just follow the rules, then you and I need to not feel that we're so different one from another, that we are so special. But you are special because you are Norwegian, and I am special because I am Greek. And of course, we are both part of the Christian world and tradition, you in your way, me in my way. And of course, we are both children of the Enlightenment period. The number one conservative thinker was Edmund Burke. He was one of the philosophers of the Enlightenment. But, you know, instead of him cheering the French Revolution, saying, oh, you're fantastic, just bring down the regime and chop their heads off, he said, well, guys, just take a minute and think about it. What you're doing in France, when everyone was ecstatic about what was happening in France back in 1789, he said, okay, take a minute, think about what is going on in France. You're going to end up slaying yourselves, slaughtering one another for about 10 or 15 years, and then a general will show up which will lead Europe into a bloodbath. Then came Napoleon. So we are both part of common traditions, but at the same time, the Enlightenment, Christianity, etc., the European spirit, but at the same time, we're different enough not to be sheep.
Do you think we will lose our identity as nations in Europe? Do you think it's heading that way?
It has already happened in some cases.
Can we save it? Can we save our identity as nations?
In some cases, yes, but in some cases, I believe not. And
what about our Christianity, our beliefs? Do you think that is threatened as well?
More than threatened. You see, there have been a number of divides historically, especially in the European Union. The European Union is faltering. Let's begin by a diagnosis. The patient is doing really bad. So whether the patient is going to survive or not is questionable at the moment. NATO is also faltering. This has to do with the stupidity of the war of Europeans against Russia. Why did we need to do that? We'll come to this. But when you see that the EU is crumbling down, then a new divide, because you asked if some cases can be saved or not, a new divide is going to come up, is going to surface. The divides in Europe, the EU, have traditionally been the North against the South, and rich countries as opposed to more developing economies. This is what we have seen throughout the years. And also there have been some cultural divides. Catholics as opposed to Protestants, you have the Orthodox jokers somewhere in there. The next divide in the European Union is going to be about which nations will care to save themselves as national identities. And there the Christian identity also plays a major role in the whole equation. For instance, if I were to be asked, Sweden is lost. You can do nothing about Sweden. It's going to be Saudi Arabia, as we say Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a Saudi Arabia up there. I don't see how they're going to save the day.
What about Britain, Great Britain?
Britain is on the brink. So you saw what happened in the Brexit. You saw that all the cities and the great urban areas were against the rest of the country. I'm not really sure, because also Britain also has another, I wouldn't call it peculiarity, but it is definitely a characteristic. Britain, also France, Netherlands, to an extent, Spain, Portugal, they used to be colonial powers. I mean, you expanded all throughout the planet. Now, it's time for you to face the music. It's time to take the consequences. I mean, even smaller nations, like Portugal, okay, you had the whole of Brazil, you had Mozambique, you had Macau, you had Angola. You were not France, who owned half of the planet, or Britain, but now you will face the music.
But do you think that people in different nations are taking the matters into their own hands, that they start to doubt political leaders, their own leaders, or?
More than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have cases like Hungary. Hungary is a showcase phenomenon for European conservatives and national conservatives. I think we're going to be divided down into countries that want to save their soul and countries that will just dilute their identity into a progressive future which is going to be homogeneous and which will chop down everyone's head if they want to be different. On the one side, you will have Hungary's, and on the other side, you will have Sweden's. On the one side, you will have Poland's, and on the other side, you will have France as it is nowadays. And we live, possibly, in one of the most crucial times that the Western history has seen. If we fail to respond in a constructive manner to the great challenges presented to us, then we shall stop existing. And this, I believe, Elena Angelina, is going to be the great political battle, war, not even battle, of the future in Europe.
Do you think that it also has a spiritual root, these problems? That it's spiritual?
Yes, of course.
That it's not even political, but it's something deeper than political issues. It has a spiritual root behind it.
Yes, in a sense, of course it does. After all, national tradition and identity is not something which is external to everyone's existence and presence. So your average man on the street or woman on the street in all those countries carries something which is way more important than his or her individual existence. It is part of a mosaic that has been there for millennia in some cases. You know, there are younger nations and older nations. One of the nations that I love is Finland, for instance. Nordic, not Scandinavian, Uralo-Altaic in their conjunctive language, and very, very determined to exist. Their language was first written in 1827 by a Swedish scholar called Agricola. In 1827, Greece was almost done with its latest revolution after 4,000 years of history. But those differences nowadays are less important than you would expect them to be. The Finns have a word, which is sisu, which means determination, which means I'm not going to be bullied around, I'm going to stand my ground. I don't know if Finns are going to do that. I think Finland is one of the countries that are on the brink. On one hand, you have those socialist progressives that don't believe in a homogeneous nation. You can't have a European nation with 30% Muslim population, full stop. They will never want to become part of our culture, tradition, and ways. They not only object, but they also pursue an agenda of imposing themselves on a very welcoming society which is not in position, and this is something that has to do with political elites and the media, of processing what is happening. So you have all those well-intended people who just see refugees. They're not even refugees. They are settlers. They are invaders. So in some cases, you're going to have societies who will wake up. I'm very much interested in what is going on with Italy, for instance. Italy is showing very serious signs and elements of an awakening. Maybe Giorgia Meloni was not as strict on some things as we would have wanted to see her, but she's definitely on a different route than what has preceded her and than what is still the main way of big European nations. It is very, very interesting to watch what will happen, for instance, in Germany or in France. So, if in France, for the first time, the cordon sanitaire doesn't work. The cordon sanitaire, for the ones who are not familiar with it, is a practice according to which it started in Belgium with Flemish bloc, is a practice in which if a national conservative, a right wing, a populist, call us what you want, is in the lead, then everyone teams up against them. And nobody is allowed to do business with them. I mean political business. To form a coalition. So, for the first time, what we see in France is that this cordon sanitaire may not work in the next elections. Bardella could possibly be the clear winner if the national forces take up power in France. And if something similar happens to Europe with the Alternative für Deutschland, then you are going to look at an altogether different picture. Mm-hmm. This, combined with the fact that NATO under Trump is not what it used to be, and that within the European Union, you're going to see all those countering one another forces brewing into what will become of the continent in the future, may produce very, very interesting results.
Right. You've been critical of communism and left-wing movements. Can you explain why these are a concern for you?
Yes, it has to do with liberty. It has to do with freedom. Forget anything else. It's like I cannot afford and I will not allow anyone to tell me that because I was born in a particular part of a particular country, I will have to do this and that with my life. Get off my back. I'm a free person. I'm a free agent. So anything that has to do with socialism in the classical form of socialism, who owns control of the means of production, classical Marxist fiddlesticks, nonsense. I mean, they say that a Marxist is someone who has read Karl Marx. A capitalist is someone who has read Karl Marx and understood Karl Marx. So, in the classical sense, communism is an illiberal state of affairs. In the modern sense, because, you know, modern day leftism and communism are worlds apart. They have nothing to do with one another. If you would have a 1918 Bolshevik being sort of beamed into today's world, he would be flabbergasted. He would be, what is going on here? Are we on the left? Because nowadays, the whole leftist universe is about identity politics. They have lost the game when it comes to the economy, so they need to stay afloat and be relevant with some way or another. So they said, okay, let's destroy some elementary values or elementary ideas of Western society. Genders, sexes, nations, religion. Mm-hmm. That is their new playground. So, yes, I'm opposed to this, even both in the classical manner, the traditional manner of what communism is all about, and in the contemporary leftist idea.
Right. You were elected with a mainstream party, then founded your own. How do you see the role of smaller parties versus mainstream ones in shaping Greece's political future?
This is a great question. I was elected with the current party in government because I was under the illusion that Mitsotakis would do what he had promised to do. And what he had promised to do was to bring a golden medium, if you wish, between progressives and conservatives. But what he actually did is that he did away with all conservatives. He hushed them up. The difference between myself and the rest of the conservatives in the ruling party is that I kept speaking. I would not just shut up. I was also a member of parliament for Athens, Central Athens. You see the Acropolis. I was a member of parliament for the constituency of the Acropolis, which is being lost now. Central Athens has become a Muslim, not even Muslim, Islamist. There's a great difference between being Muslim and Islamist. It's an Islamist Mad Max playground. So I couldn't just shut up and see the neighborhoods where I grew up being invaded and taken over. So I could not just shut up when this government was introducing surrogate mothers for same-sex couples in order for them to adopt children.
Right.
Oh, come on. I was not elected on that agenda. So, being a free man, being also a businessman, I was like, okay, I'll just keep saying what I have to say and you do your own thing. So they did their thing and they threw me out. And then I formed a party of myself, which was complete disaster. And it was complete disaster because this we need to very seriously take into account. Politics don't just work on principles alone. Politics need to work on creating a counter system that will be a force to be reckoned with. Ideas on their own won't go a long way. Because if you have me or you saying 3 or 4 reasonable things on the radio or on YouTube or whatever, and then you have like 5 mainstream national TV networks saying he's a fascist, then your hairdresser is going to see me as a fascist. And then I'm not going to go anywhere. And at the same time, unfortunately, but this is how it works, and we cannot just ignore it. Politics needs money, and money is linked to businesses and affluent people who always want something back from politicians. Of course, you will ask me, how did people like Viktor Orban make it? How did people like Fico make it? How did people like Babiš make it? I'm referring to the Slovakian, the Czech. Well, there you need to be very well organized and not just a rogue partisan. So I was a rogue partisan. I was too romantic, thinking that I can cut through all the clutter and maybe make myself heard in a fair way. Well, this was not possible at the end of the day. No hard feelings. Le monde comme il va, it is what it is. This is how things are. I'm very, very happy with my current role. Also because I can speak beyond the borders of my country.
You've spoken about what you call a mega immigration wave. in Europe, what specific policies do you believe Greece should implement to manage immigration effectively?
I suppose you read my Brussels Signal article on this one. Listen, 2026 is going to be a very difficult year because you have the border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Pakistan is one of the plagues Europe is being faced with. We have not realized how much of a problem Pakistan is. Pakistan is destabilizing the whole of South Asia. You saw what happened with India, which all began from Pakistani-based terrorists. Pakistan is in direct coordination with Bangladesh. Bangladesh was founded as East Pakistan, let me remind you. Pakistan has an Islamist cooperation government. So Islamists are part of the coalition that rules Pakistan, not Muslims, Islamists. And Pakistan is de facto at war with Afghanistan, because Pakistan will not do what Pakistan asks us to do, which is to open our hands and hearts and borders and take supposed refugees in. But when Afghans, especially Pashtun, seek refuge to Pakistan, they just kick them out. So you're going to have a great influx from South Asia in 2026. Then you're going to have a great influx from Nigeria. Why doesn't anyone say anything about the genocide of Christians in Nigeria? I mean, we were all gung-ho about Gaza, from the river to the sea, Palestine, how do you call it, will be free. Okay, we're all in favor of every family and child to be safe. And Israel, indeed, has played in a way that even though most people would agree that they were right in the first place to move into Gaza and protect themselves, they ended up doing this in a manner that makes us be doubtful on whether they deserve our support. We should be clear on that. They overdid it. But at the same time, when it comes to Gaza, we were all gung-ho. We were all outraged. Okay, why are we not outraged for what is going on in Nigeria? The great total of casualties in Gaza the last year, I mean civilian casualties, is something between, you can never know, something between 50 or 60,000 people. It's a tragedy, of course. The great total of casualties, civilian casualties, of the Christian genocide in Nigeria is something between 50 and 60,000 people. Nobody talks about Nigeria. So there you have another influx from Nigeria, then you have Sudan. What is happening in Sudan is outrageous. You have Islamists, herders, who drive Christian farmers from the middle zone of Sudan out of the country by the hundreds of thousands or millions, killing and slaughtering them in the meantime. So during the last 2 months, and you won't see this on Deutsche Welle, you won't see this on France 24, you won't see that on Euronews, of course. During the last 2 months, the headquarters of Frontex in Warsaw actually said that, do you know that flows are up 300%? So we're going to be faced with a very, very difficult 2026. South Asia, Nigeria, Sudan, being the zones where most people will be coming from. What we need to do, close down, seal the borders. Not one living soul should pass. I know this sounds cruel. I know this appears to be very, very strict. I understand that out of 10 people, 1 or 2 could be actual refugees. But if you pay some attention to what the Italian secret services sort of whispered about a month ago, we wrote that on Brussels Signal, 1 out of 10 could be a jihadist as well. Well, frankly, my dear, I'm not willing to take the risk. So, if you want our open society to remain open, and we're all in favor of an open society, I don't believe that in the year 2025 someone could question basic, fundamental beliefs of our Western society. Woman and man are equal. We do not judge anyone by their sexual nature. We cannot harass or bully homosexuals. Blah, 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 blah. They should be able to live their life in the way that they wish to. Set up home with who they wish to. Be treated by the state, any state, the same way that a heterosexual couple could be treated. Forget about adopting children. I'm talking about being commonly taxed or being able to do what any other couple should do. We are an open society. Thank God we are an open society. Even as Christians, and even like the most traditionalist of Christians, we should be able to tune in with what Jesus Christ said, which was, do not pass judgment on others. So I understand that this might be too harsh, saying seal the borders, but do it. And do it by force, if you mean to. I mean, I don't see why we are so lenient with Libya, or Turkey, for that matter. But, you know, being a Greek, talking about Turkey may not be all that suave. I mean, Greeks should not be talking too much about Turkey in international media, because people will believe we're biased. So let's leave it for the moment out of our conversation, because if you get me started about Turkey, then it's going to be a long conversation.
I won't. I have another question for you.
But just for the record, the whole of Europe went ballistic against Russia because of Russia occupying a part of another European country or something like this, which is exactly the same thing that Turkey has done with Cyprus. Nobody gives a shit about this. Excuse my French. And then they said, well, you cannot just move into another country, bomb it, and change borders. Hey, hello, wake up and smell the coffee. That's what you did in Kosovo. So the hypocrisy is there. But I also understand that nowadays that the European economy is in ruins. Europeans need to find a way to sort of counter the destruction they brought upon their own people with completely lunatic decisions on Russia and sanctions and blah, blah, blah. And the only thing that they can do right now is rearmament in order for big corporations like Rheinmetall and Thales and you name it to get big contracts and get the whole European economy through the industry moving again, and then they need Turkey, of course, because we have fallen so much behind. So seal the borders, and the last thing, kick them out. Why should I have 200,000 Pakistanis in Athens? I don't need them. I don't want them. They're not any good for the economy either. Because if you read at the Διεθνές Νομισματικό Ταμείο International Monetary Fund, reports, back in 2024, by an Italian economist, I don't remember her name, says that unskilled labor from what we would call in the past third world countries now, it's not politically correct, I couldn't give a damn about political correctness, destroys the economy. Because, for instance, you need to pick the olives. What Greece currently says is, okay, have Pakistanis do the job. What Israel says, or what Japan would say, is build machines that do this. So automation and robotics lag behind because, okay, we have Afghans and Pakistanis. Oh, come on. This is decadent. This is ridiculous. So, kick them out.
How do you balance national security concerns with humanitarian responsibilities toward refugees, migrants?
If there are places in the world that need our attention and assistance, let's go there to assist them.
Right.
The European Union member states can muster together like hundreds of transport aircraft. Start by sending serious loads of assistance where it's needed. Then stop funding the very governments that create the problem. Once more, I'll tell you about Pakistan. I've been studying South Asia. I've been following it closely. Not many Europeans are aware that our taxes sort of channel billions every year as assistance to Pakistan through a scheme of reduced or zero tariffs. So why should the Greek cotton producer be taxed in a way that makes his business not viable because the taxation on Pakistani cotton is much lower? I don't get it. But this is a question that maybe I'm not in position to answer properly. And this is, are they doing it because they're stuck up, or are they doing it because they're making shitloads of money? I can't really say, because I know some people who honestly believe that, you know, bringing half of Africa and half of South or Central Asia to Europe is something that which allow us to qualify as very, very good people indeed. Okay, so destroy the life of your children in order for you to feel like a good man now. But are those people the majority? Is Ursula von der Leyen really doing all this because she wants to be a nice person? I'm not really so sure about that.
But is it really about humanitarian or helping these people, or is it business?
That's what I'm saying. It's business.
Is it money?
Listen, I can tell you about Greece. I should look into the matter further on a European perspective, but I can definitely talk about Greece. Greece is a playground for NGOs like no other. The Greek government, again according to IMF numbers and figures, is spending at least 1% of GDP in direct needs of illegal immigration yearly. Greek GDP around 205.7 last year. Billion, say 2 billion a year. But then you have like a whole multi-billion economy, which is based on this influx of miserable and sometimes violent people. So in Greece, for instance, you have the oligarchs, the same oligarchs that fund otherwise seemingly patriotic parties. You told me about small parties. I won't go into further detail, but I'll just tell you that the Greek judiciary is now following very closely the case of a small, supposedly patriotic Greek party in the parliament, which is in bed with the Greek oligarchs who support Mitsotakis, and that is accused of setting up the party illegally. Fine. You'll tell me, what does this have to do with what we were talking about? I'll tell you that the number one oligarch behind this party, which is supposed to be a conservative party, but loved by all the mainstream media, who affect your hairdresser who doesn't like me, is the very person that is making billions out of setting up camps for refugees. Right. So you're the billionaire, you're the oligarch, and you say, okay, I'll be in bed with Mitsotakis, getting like billions to set up camps, to do the catering, to do hygiene services, to do anything that has to do with the whole accommodation of the needs of the refugee, not really, crisis. But then at the same time, I will sponsor a party who will be against immigration, but at the same time will be there if Mitsotakis needs a coalition partner.
I understand. What is your stance on legal pathways for migration and integration programs?
Well, if some people want to come to our countries and respect the way we live, then in specific numbers, which will be determined by the needs of every economy and society, well, this, of course, we could definitely discuss. But some people just wind me up because they say, you're Greek. You know how many refugees Greece had in the past? Yes, I do. But they were like real refugees. Like back in 1922 and all during the genocide against Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks, organized by the Germans, on behalf of the Turks. Yes, of course, we had 2 and 3 million of refugees who, some of them came to Greece and some of them moved to the United States. And then you had like economic refugees after the Second World War. We beat the Germans and then we became workers in their factories. But those were real refugees. You know how you can tell a real refugee? It's very simple. A real refugee will never leave his wife and child behind. Just look at the boats.
Yeah.
A real refugee is a mother with a child. That I can respect. A real refugee is not some 20-year-old punk full of Islamist hatred, armed with an iPhone, who just wants to come here and go at the ATM and pick up money from my grandmother's pension.
How do you view the EU's role in sharing responsibility for migrants and refugees across member states?
Europe and responsibility are two conflicting terms at the moment, I'm afraid. Europe, well, not Europe, the EU. The EU should take responsibility in stopping the war against Russia, to begin with, which has destroyed the European economy. You know what's going to happen, by the way?
Tell me.
The US has made it clear. They're no longer on board in a war against Russia. The national strategy that came out December 5th is clear. It's not a strategic goal of the United States for Russia to be beaten anymore. Contrary to that, they want an institutional cooperation and return of Russia to the world institutions. So Trump is saying to the Europeans, you're alone. Go at it alone. Do we have an army against Russia? Well, we have the number of tanks and the number of ships, or we have the brigades and the army corps. But last time I checked, a German brigadier cannot order a Polish battery to fire. A French admiral cannot tell a Dutch frigate what to do. And a Finnish airplane, a Finnish fighter plane will not just take off together with an Italian one and go on a mission. We cannot counter Russia as Europe. It is impossible. We have the means, but we are not an integrated military system. The integrated military system that could be a counter to Russia is NATO. NATO is no longer on the table. Trump has just withdrawn this card from the table. So what is Europe going to do? If they keep on supporting this corrupt regime in Ukraine, sending hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men to their death, I mean, for the ones that are with Ukraine on this whole thing, have you ever thought about the Ukrainians themselves? Listen, we have been saying that in Brussels Signal for a long time. First, they took Lugansk. Then they are about to take the Donetsk. Then they have the Donbas. They have a great part of Zaporizhia and Kherson. Crimea is theirs. The state of affairs on the ground is set. It's done. It will not be undone. And through your show now, through your program, let some people hear it loud and clear. Next will be Odessa. Putin is able to do it. No one will stop him anymore. We are destroying Ukraine. And we are destroying Ukraine, in a sense, as an usurper, as a creditor.
You proposed restrictions on full-face veils in public.
Yes.
How do you reconcile this with religious freedom?
I reconcile this by saying that if I could put a burqa and go out on the street and start shooting people around, then there is a problem. A. B. Religious freedom in the West, what I told you about traditions and values. We have different cultural values than those guys over there. To us, a woman is not just a piece of furniture, is not a servant, is not a slave. A woman is a person who is as free as any other person, regardless of sex or other characteristics. Age, race, you name it. So before religious freedom and nonsense like this, comes freedom without any adjectives. You wish to tell me that a woman who lives under the burden and slavery of a burqa is a free agent? No, I do not believe this. And if out of 10 women who wear the burqa, 5 of them are willing to wear the burqa, and the other 5 of them are not, I'm not going to make something legal just because the majority or a big part of a group of people would like to do this, when at the same time, within the same group of people, a sizable part would be against it, and this would be against their own will. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm an Orthodox, but I'm an Orthodox person living in a constitutional state. We are not a theocracy. We're not something that resembles Iran. And this, to me, my dear friend, is something that Europe has achieved and we should be grateful about, which is a balance between constitutional republics and a Christian heritage.
Right.
Well, this has not been in conflict so far. I don't need burqa-wearing jihadists invading, creating more problems than I could ever imagine.
No. How do you define Greek national identity? And which aspects do you believe are most important to preserve?
Oh, this would be a conversation that in itself should last about 5 or 6 hours. The Greek national...
Short version.
I am not sure I can give something short. The Greek national identity has to do with the language and the spiritual tradition of the Greeks. There is also something about DNA to be mentioned here. Mm-hmm. I'm not a racist in the sense that I do not believe that nations are a matter of DNA or genetics. But the fact that you can take any online DNA test and half of the Turks appear to be Greeks, and from the south of Italy and down Magna Graecia, they find out that their DNA is Greek. There is something there, but it mostly has to do with our language and our spiritual and cultural tradition. Mm-hmm. We have been going on for at least 4,000 years, 2,000 years before Christ and 2,000 years after Christ. The Gospels were written in Greek. But if Greece had not produced all this philosophy that had nothing to do with the Christian world, if Greece had not produced theater, democracy, arts, sciences, Plato, Aristotle, and the like, then, and Alexander the Great, of course, Macedonians were Greeks, then you would not have the Gospels written in Greek because Greek would not be the lingua franca of that time. Greece used to be the English of the time, even throughout the Roman conquest. It wasn't Latin, it was Greek. And when the new religion sprouted, then it went without saying for them, we shall not compose the Gospels in Latin, we'll do it in Greek. So, in a sense, the Greek identity is much broader than what it means to be Greek. But at the same time, the fact that it is broader does not mean that a narrow aspect of what it means to be Greek, which means being Greek, born in Greece, living in Greece, speaking Greek, should be neglected.
What is your position on law enforcement and security policies, particularly regarding urban crime and migration youth?
The stricter, the better. Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment.
Is there a lot of crimes here in Greece?
Yes. And it's becoming worse.
What is happening to these people?
70% of people in jail in Greece are of immigrant background.
Right.
Around 75, something like this, % of sexual crimes is being committed by illegal immigrants. It was unheard of in Greece for a girl to walk down the street feeling insecure. That's the country I want. That's the Europe I want. That's the country and Europe I will fight for. I cannot compromise with the fact that you would not be able to walk downtown Athens feeling insecure just because you're a beautiful woman. I refuse to take this.
What motivates you to remain involved in politics despite controversy?
I'm not sure that I'm involved in politics, but journalism is a political thing, of course. My principles, my soul, my heart.
And how do you handle the criticism from media and the public?
It's very welcome. As long as they pronounce my name right, they're very welcome to do it. And what I told you in the beginning, who
Yes.
cannot take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Thank you, Mr. Bogdanos, so much for this very interesting sharing of your visions and your perspective today. It's conversations like these that remind us why public debate matters and why every voice counts in shaping our future. This is Elena Angelina Figenschau for Document Media in Norway. Thank you very much.